I'm Mason Mount. You're listening to the London is Blue podcast.
Another transfer that we have been linked with is actually bringing someone back. Someone who was with the Chelsea Academy up to the age of 14, gets released, goes over to West Ham, ends up being their player of the season, is the captain in almost every match where Mark Noble is not on the pitch. Declan Rice is being scouted by Chelsea for a return to Stamford Bridge. Seemingly very excited about the possibility, Naz. What's your take on this transfer? Maybe why it would happen and how likely do you think it is to potentially happen?
Well, I think that every transfer is less likely than the Havertz one, so that's where we're at. But Rice is a massively key target for Chelsea. I think that initially a lot of the noise we were getting, the collective journalist community was quite sort of negative for Chelsea's chances, but it's starting to get increasingly positive just because West Ham do have to sell, and they really don't want to sell Rice because Rice is their best player, and he's just gone from strength to strength this season. You look at all his attributes, he's been phenomenal. If you kept half an eye on West Ham, he's been phenomenal. And in the games against Chelsea, he has been sensational. West Ham have beaten Chelsea twice this season. Sorry to deliver the painful news, but Rice and Antonio in those games are basically single-handedly fucking hauled them over the line and stuff like that. So it's been big, really. So yeah, Rice is a big target. I know, he's got a lot of love for Chelsea. He's got Mount, as his mate there and stuff like that.
Right.
And maybe they can sell him. Maybe it'll happen later in the window. I see this one. If West Ham don't get to sell their Yarmolenkos, their Fornals, the ones they really want to sell, if they don't get rid of these players, then they might be coming to Chelsea and saying, maybe we'll sell them out, maybe we will now, maybe we're open to it, and then that might be the point where they get a deal done. And the only interesting thing is I'm not sure if it's to sign him as a centre-back or a central midfielder. That'll be an interesting one to see where they actually play him. I mean, I'm sure, like we all think, that Chelsea needs centre-back, so it could be in there. But I think in a back three, Rice fits in well, but not in a back four so much.
Yeah, I'm interested in that as well, because I think he's much like Havertz and much like Werner and much like Ziyech, right? There's positional flexibility is kind of a theme that you're developing if you're looking at Chelsea transfers. That is good and bad, right? I think Chelsea need a top quality center back. They need a top quality goalkeeper. They might need some defensive midfield reinforcements. I would certainly see Rice playing there. I'm more intrigued by this than I was 3 months ago after watching him play since the restart. I think he's certainly shown his quality. And you can never have too many leaders on the pitch, and he's certainly a leader. I mean, that's unquestioned. Keeping West Ham up where they were is no small feat. So, yeah, Dan, I think I'm getting on board with this more and more.
The interesting thing to me, and we called this out when we were reviewing the FA Cup loss, is that N'Golo Kante missed 50% of the matches last season. And so if you're thinking about wanting to play a back four, you're thinking about wanting to offer the defense someone to play as that defensive mid, Rice seemingly would tick all the boxes. And if you're really concerned about what the long-term future of N'Golo Kante looks like, and again, I think no one in this podcast or this conversation is wishing N'Golo Kante leaves anytime soon, because we are all fans. We love the way he plays. And just, again, he'll score again. And anytime you get an N'Golo Kante goal celebration, it is a special golden moment, and you just want to package it up and save it for a rainy day. But Declan Rice potentially coming in and being able to offer some of that positional flexibility you talked about, but maybe being the heir apparent in terms of that defensive mid situation, Naz, kind of gives us maybe an interesting wrinkle there, because maybe there is some concern that maybe N'Golo Kante might not have the fitness to go through a 60-game season playing that defensive mid, and the drop-off right now from N'Golo Kante to the next man up at Chelsea is way too drastic to be competitive.
Yeah, you're right. It might be one of the reasons, and then set pieces are another reason. Even if he plays in central midfield, he'll still be marking in the box. So that's another big plus for Chelsea. So those are two factors. I think that if they sign Rice, maybe it's a case of, and a lot of these are caveated, a lot of these targets, not Havertz, but some of the other ones, are caveated by who can they get out of the door as well, Chelsea, because I think Lampard, when you hear him speak about transfers, a lot of the thing that goes under the radar is we also selling players is really important for Chelsea. It refreshes the squad. Maybe have a player who doesn't quite fit the system. Lampard's touched upon that. Also, just refreshing the mentality of the squad. Sometimes new blood really helps it, and maybe have aging players or players who are just simply not good enough. But all these different reasons are great reasons to get rid of players. And you know, the one I'd still feel in the firing line if Rice comes in is Jorginho. And can Chelsea get rid of Jorginho? Is it going to be easy to raise that money that they spent on him, which was quite a lot? It was around, what was it, around 50 million, 53 million. So yeah, Juventus are the ones interested. Obviously, the Sarri connection, Sarri's son, as some Sarri haters would call him, way too harsh. But yeah, I think that might be, you know, slightly in Lampard's mind, and I feel like Jorginho is the one that doesn't quite fit at Chelsea. He's not the best fit. I don't think he's a bad player at all, and I think that's such a weak, you know, poor assessment that a lot of people have of Jorginho. But maybe he's just not quite the right kind of player for Chelsea, and that's not to say he's not great. So yeah, Rice in, Jorginho out could be the way it goes. But yeah, right now it's not as clear as Kai Havertz in. Kai Havertz in is the main clear transfer that we know about Chelsea right now.
I think the thing you called out about Jorginho is interesting because it's not just getting him to Juventus, because you're thinking about the fact that you have to get his amortized value off of the books. So it's the transfer fee that you paid for him plus the annual wages. So getting his wages off the books, even through maybe a loan, is going to potentially give Chelsea that flexibility to be able to bring in other individuals where, you know, yes, you're going to have this massive transfer fee in the books over 5-6 years, whatever, but the wages are just as important to get off the bill too. So, you know, maybe even something like a 2-year loan, or a 3-year loan, which is what we did with Quadrado with Juventus, might be something that helps make it easier for Juventus, gets what we need off the books for Chelsea, and opens the pathway for someone like Rice coming in.
Yeah, when I speak about transfers as well, a lot of the agents I've spoken to have said the key word for this transfer market is creativity. So they've got to be creative with a deal. So there's not many deals as creative as the Quadrado loan to Juventus, which benefited both Chelsea and Juventus, and that's the most important thing with transfers most of the time.